Hey guys, this is Josh here with Trillium Wild Edibles, and today I want to show you guys how I like to jar up my tinctures and extracts. There are a couple of different ways that you can jar up your tinctures or extracts, and this process isn't going to be any different whether you're making a tincture or an extract. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Alright, now for this video I'm actually going to be jarring up the mint extract that I made about 3 weeks ago. And if any of you guys want to learn how to make it, I'll put a link to the video in the description down below. Alright, now that we've gotten that out of the way, one of the first things you guys are going to need is some of these Melita number 4 natural brown unbleached coffee filters. Really any unbleached coffee filter is going to work. I just like to use these because they're cheap and available pretty much everywhere. You're going to need some extract or you're going to need some flavoring. You're going to need to get some tincture bottles. You're either going to need some tincture bottles or some bottles that are similar that don't have a dropper. I like to use tincture bottles not only for tinctures, but I like to use them for my flavorings as well, is because I find it to be really easy for me to just open the jar up, take the dropper, and then put whatever amount I need in the recipe. And I don't have any worries, I don't have any spills, I don't have to deal with any extra utensils. So that's just something that I like to do and something you guys might want to keep in mind to make things a little easier for you in the kitchen. You're going to need some clean, sterile jar so that way we can filter the plant material out of our extract or your tincture. And the last thing you're going to need is some sort of way to get the liquid or the tincture or extract into the bottle itself. And for a lot of people this is one of the trickiest parts, and the reason is because these openings, as you guys can see, are extremely tiny. You know, I can barely get my pinky in there. That's as far as I can get my pinky in this bottle. So as you can see, these openings aren't very large, and that makes it difficult for some people to actually get the liquid inside of these jars. There are a couple of different ways that you can actually get your liquid inside of these bottles. Some people like to use large normal size funnels, which they work. They're a little difficult because you got to hold the bottle, you got to hold the funnel, and you've got to pour this in, and it's just kind of difficult to see inside of these bottles while you're holding all of that and not spill anything. And to hold all that with just 2 hands is kind of difficult. I used to use this little egg separator just like this. This works really well. This little funnel end sits right inside of the tincture bottle. It's got a nice flat bottom like you can see here, so it rests really well up against the top of the tincture bottle. However, the downside was, just because of the shape of it and the size, it was still hard for me to see inside of the tincture bottle. So that's something you guys may want to keep in mind. Now recently what I've been using are these little stainless steel mini funnels, and these things are actually designed for these bottles. These are designed specifically for these kinds of bottles with this size of opening. You can see it's got a 3/8 inch diameter opening here. That's the outside diameter of this rim. The inside diameter is a little smaller than that, but these fit inside of these bottles just perfectly. And I'll show you guys what I mean here. You can see how that sits inside there, and you may also be able to see how the bottom of the funnel sits really well and flush up against the top of the tincture bottle. So that's something to keep in mind, and this makes it really easy because you can just set this down like that, set your little dropper off to the side, and essentially you would just pour it in like that, and you have a lot less to worry about. So this is something that I've been using a lot recently, and I found this has made it a lot easier for me to jar up my tinctures. And I will actually put a link to these and some tincture bottles and some coffee filters and canning jars and more medicine making supplies in the description down below if you guys are interested. Alright, now that we've got all the preliminary information out of the way, let's go ahead, strain this out, and jar it up. Alright, and the main reason I like to use natural brown unbleached coffee filters is just because I find it actually helps to impart a much better flavor. I get more of the natural flavors from the plants itself, and I find that the bleach filters do affect the flavor, at least in my opinion. You may be different, you may not think so, and the bleach coffee filters do work, so don't stress yourself out too much about it. It's just more personal preference. You can use anything from a paper towel to a wash rag that's clean, or any kind of clean cloth really to strain this out. These are just what I like to use because they're cheap, they're disposable, and they're compostable as well, so that's nice. Alright, now what I like to do to start off is I like to shove the coffee filter in there a good way, and then I like to take the top of it, and this is sometimes a little difficult because they're a little stiff, but that's a good thing. And then I like to just fold it over the edge like that. I find this helps me to hold this on here really well without worry of this coffee filter falling down in the jar as I'm pouring in my extract or my tincture. Alright, so now we've got our extract or our tincture. Oh, man, that smells so good. Alright, if you're making flavoring or extract like I am, I find it to be really nice and enjoyable. To open it up first and give it a couple whiffs. Couple good things about doing this is A, if it worked out well, you get to enjoy the smell as soon as it's done. Also, if something goes wrong, you're going to know. Alright, now we've got our coffee filter around our jar that we're going to be using. And we've got our lid off of our extract or our tincture. Go ahead and just get ready to dump it in. And there you guys can see it draining, so you can see what it looks like. And something you may notice, depending on how much plant material or sediment from the plant material is in your extract or your tincture, you may actually notice this coffee filter start to get clogged up a little fast. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. However, whenever you go to actually put the plant material in there, it will clog up just a little bit more because it's got all that extra leaf matter and plant material inside there. So it does tend to drip just a little bit slower the more you get in it. So that's something to keep in mind. Alright, now for the last important part is to get all of the remaining liquid or extract or flavoring or tincture, whatever it is you're making, out of the plant material that's in this jar. And the way I like to do that is to just take a wooden implement of some sort and scoop that plant material inside of the coffee filter. Some of it may fall onto the counter, and that's okay. You shouldn't lose too much. I just like to hold the rim and kind of pack it down in there a little bit. That way I can get the rest of it in. You can see how it's trying to come out all in one on me here. And it's probably going to do that if you packed it down a lot, but that's alright. It's not going to hurt anything. Just make sure you kind of hold it with your finger. So that way you don't plop it all onto the counter, because that would suck. That would suck really, really bad. So we just scoop this out in here like this, and once I get this done, I will get back to you guys. Alright, and then once you've got all the plant material that you can fit inside of the coffee filter easily, you want to make sure you still have some room, because what we're going to do next is we're going to grab it by the top, and we're going to squeeze. And that flavoring or extract or tincture is just going to squeeze itself right out of there, right into our jar. You guys may also be able to see the color of this mint extract. It's really nice and dark. Got a really nice golden amber brown color to it. Almost like cane syrup or maple syrup kind of color. Though it reeks of mint. One of the reasons I really like to use ball mason jars for this purpose is because they have the ounces listed on the side. So this lets me know how many tincture bottles to use, because tincture bottles come in 1 ounce sizes and 2 ounce sizes. And what I'm using now are the 2 ounce sizes. So if I look here, I can see that I've got about 6 ounces almost exactly of tincture, and that's perfect. So that lets me know that I need 3 of these bottles. I like to just go ahead and set up my funnels now, get that done and out of the way. Because they sit on there nice and neat, no issues. Alright, and then once you've got your funnels placed on top of your jars, the next thing you want to do is just go ahead and start pouring in. And it's a good idea to kind of hold the funnel a little bit. Alright, and the next thing you want to do is just go ahead and label and date your jars so you know what they are and when they were bottled. And then you're ready to go ahead and use them in the kitchen whenever you want. And any of the extracts that you made, like for example this mint extract, it's also technically a tincture, so you can use this medicinally. That's also something to kind of keep in mind. You know, if you end up with 3 or 4 bottles of tincture, especially, 3 or 4 2-ounce bottles of tincture or extract, you may not use all that in the kitchen, and you may not have anybody to give some of these bottles away to if they want to use it or try it. So go ahead and try to use some of it for tincture if the plant you're using is medicinal and you need it and you know it won't hurt you. Alright, and here we are. With our 3 bottles of mint extract or mint tincture. And depending on what plant you used, you either have a tincture or you have an extract at this point. And like I said, you can go ahead and use it for either food or medicine depending on what it is you made. Me, for example, one of these is going to be for tincture, one of these is going to be for flavoring, and another one I'm going to give to somebody if they want it, and if not, I'll use it for tincture. So I thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. If you want to learn more about edible or medicinal plants, make sure to subscribe.